Hi. I wanted to tell you a couple of things that I think are quite exciting about this course and that a little bit set the pace and serve as an introduction about a little bit about the philosophy of the course and really of the research. So I wanted to do this because I think it's important that you guys understand why this course exists, why is it taught in the way that it's taught. And I want to make some parallels with and some comparison with other kind of courses that are similar. So this course is about artificial and synthetic vision systems. So I've been really passionate for many years about trying to understand how humans perceive the world visually. What kind of processing do we do to recognize that a car is a car? What kind of processing do we do to track a person that is walking down the street, to track an object? What are the mechanisms that allow us to perceive an entire scene in a single instant? So these are really the kind of things that are interesting for me. That's really the goal of this class, but it's also the main goal of this research. This research is extremely important because replicating the human visual system in some form, maybe not in its entirety, in embedded systems, things that you can run on your cell phone, will have enormous potential because it will allow devices, every device, to realize about the environment, interact with humans in a better way. It will be used in cars so that cars can finally drive by themselves. You won't have to drive anymore, which is great. It will be used in robots that can finally help you in everyday activity and so forth. There's many applications which I will explain. So one key note about the philosophy of this course is the following. Because this work of artificial and bio-inspired vision system is so wide, so it takes components of electrical engineering, embedded systems, computer science, and the biology, neuroscience, and psychology. It takes in so much, this course, that it's hard for people to grasp it in its entirety, especially for a student starting. But it's not impossible, otherwise I wouldn't be teaching it. It's not impossible. You need to have some passion for this. You need to wake up every morning and say, how do I do visually what I do? How did I find my keys? How did I find the door? How did I find the street to come here today? You have to be very passionate about this. Once you're passionate about this, learning about these disciplines will be very easy. The big problem that I think it's quite important that I tell you about is that you should not fall in love with any of these disciplines. That's really the main problem that I see. For example, you might love neuroscience so much that you want to replicate it completely. If you try to do that, maybe you won't get a very efficient system, or you will lose yourself in small details. If you're a very mathematical person, you might think that you want to prove everything. Every single little thing that you discover, you want to prove it. Proofs are great, because once you have a mathematical proof, it means that your technique can be applied to anything. But they're hard to come by, especially with complicated, sophisticated systems. So sometimes you will have to accept that you have to make some sacrifices in your theory. You have to reduce your theory to make a proof. If you do that, it might not be as general as we want it to be. So if you fall in love with math, again, you might lose the goal on the big picture. The big picture is to try to replicate human vision system, try to track a car in whatever condition, recognize all the objects in a scene. these are really the goals of this research and this class. You have to keep them in mind. If you get too stuck on, for example, on proving that your system is it as good as human or bad as humans, and you want to run a lot of psychophysical experiment, I think that's all great stuff. But you might again lose your eyes on the ball, because why you have to prove that your system is as good as human in some cases and so forth. What you really want to show is that you can achieve larger capabilities. So I think this course is really about keeping your vision. The vision is, vision and vision. It's a course about vision that needs a vision. But what I'm trying to say is that you need to keep your enthusiasm for the final goal. The final goal is, for example, to have a car that drives by itself. It's not to have a proof that this can be done. It's not to show that that system is going to be as good as humans. You're going to have to do these things later, and you will do it easily. But the main goal is to try not to fall in love with a single piece of this puzzle, but to try to put it together into a cohesive system. Once you will have a good idea about the system, doing all these little things, all this proof, and all this extra experiment will be, I think, fairly easy. So I think that's one of my philosophies. Try not to fall in love too much with the details. Keep an eye on the big pictures. The big picture and the big vision. This is vision course, this is vision research, so it has to be this way.